Hello everyone. In this video I will be giving an overview of delves and some helpful tips for running tier 8 bountiful delves on season launch. I'll be playing through a tier 8 delve on this level 582 Windwalker Monk. I don't have optimal gear, don't have enchants, fancy consumables, etc. Although it's important to say you can use things like the Dragonflight drums, for example, for heroism, which is very cheap. And I think maybe I have some of the Dragonflight potions that I can use. Yeah, I can use some flasks and then some of these potions. Um, Now I have a level 15 Bran, 17 Bran on the beta. I don't have good curios. Ideally, the curios that I would use are can't see them here, but they're called. Let me just check that from live. The porcelain arrowhead idol and the idol of final will as the combat curio, and then for the utility curio I would actually use the amorphous relic as the utility one. But before we go into these delves, I just want to explain some very basic stuff. So first of all, you can identify bountiful delves by just opening your map, and then you see some delves, they have this light, which means they're bountiful, and you can see how many restored cover keys you have. At the end of completing a bountiful delve, if you don't deplete it by dying too much, you can use this key on the chest to get better loot. Now, in order to maximize gear, you want to only use these restored cover keys in bountiful delves of tier 8 or above. Rewards max out at tier 8 in terms of gear, so from that perspective you don't need to run any higher than this. Now, once reset hits, you actually need to unlock tier 8 because you'll only have done tier 3. And on the beta, you can here also see the recommended item level. So for tier 8, it's 600 plus, but you'll see me complete this delve at 582, and that's totally fine. Some spots might be a little bit rough, but I'll talk about that later. Now, the important thing to mention is there are 4 bountiful delves, one in each zone, that are bountiful. And so when you're leveling up your tier, you want to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on non-bountiful delves. And that's really important because yes, you cannot use your key in the delve, but once you complete it, it kind of depletes the bountiful nature of it, so you can't rerun it. Um, so that's what you want to avoid. Um, so on reset day, you can really only run. Oh, they just reset this on the beta, maybe. Or maybe because I was standing there too long, it became non-bountiful. This might be slightly annoying. Oh no, okay, this one is still bountiful, so I'll just go there and complete that. But before I do, just want to then explain that what you really want to do is you want to level in an easy dungeon from 3 to 8. So you complete 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you go do your 4 bountiful delves. You complete them without dying too much, you loot the coffer key, you maximize your gear reward. Now, in my opinion, the fastest 3 delves are this Tech Rethan Abyss, where I am now. Then in the Ringing Deeps, the Waterworks is also very fast. In Hallowfall, I think Sinkhole is very fast. Sinkhole. And other honorable mentions that I think are pretty good are the Spiral Weave and Ashkahet, and then the Creek Falls Rest, I think it is. Yeah, in Isle of Dorn. They're all also quite fast. Um, the second thing that I want to mention, because I did that wrong on my alt on live. The first time you complete a bountiful delve, you will get this Radiant Echo quest, and it appears in your quest log, and you just have to interact with this, because if you don't, the next time you complete your next bountiful delve, and I just ran 4 in a row, you don't get this radiant echo. And this radiant echo allows you to interact with the world soul once you have it. I don't have it on this character, so I can't show it on the map, but it will show on your map, and you can go do an event there that gives you coffer key shards. So you don't want to be running your 4 bountiful delves, not getting these echoes, because you're inting your coffer key shards basically. So after the first one that you complete at tier 8 and you loot your coffer, just complete that quest that you get so that your next bountiful delves will also reward you with this. Alright, so now I'll just be flying to this other delve and completing a tier 8 delve on my 582 Windwalker mod. Hi everyone, so I'm gonna run through this tier 8 Mycomancer Kevin delve. I'm eye level 582, and I'll just be playing through this and seeing how I go. So I'm playing DPS, but as I mentioned before, like if you're struggling as DPS, because you'll see like these mobs, they actually hit quite hard, even just white melee hits. You can always go tank or healer. It will be a lot easier than DPS. If you don't have those roles as your spec, or you don't want to do that, I suggest if you're struggling, you can group up with a tank or a healer, and these delves are more than fine. So this is a item level recommended 600 delve. I'm 582, and you'll see it's not face roll or anything. Like you need to interrupt, you need to CC, you need to use your personals, etc. But it's totally fine to run this basically. So some other things that I wanted to mention is you can use Dragonflight consumables. So you see I have drums from Dragonflight, potions from Dragonflight, flasks from Dragonflight. I still had them in my warbank, so why wouldn't I use them? Although I imagine that Blizzard will fix the Dragonflight drums working. The other thing that I would mention is if you see wares or puzzles in your delve, to get these small buffs, like the buffs are actually pretty useful at tier 8 because you are relatively weak. You can see my HP, right? Like it's pretty tricky sometimes. Um, yeah. The other thing, he can place this food on the ground when you're low HP, and when you use that, you get like a primary stat buff after 10 seconds. So that's pretty nice to do. So always do that after when it allows you, so that you have that buff. So you can see that I'm thinking how I'm gonna do this with 2 casters. ICC 1. These spores, they can also be pretty useful. You can see like one rotten bolt does insane damage. So you really need to avoid like casts and frontals, etc. I haven't actually tried healing Bran. Maybe that's a good shout. I've always done it as damage. One thing to mention with these spores, right? You see their explosion. They don't just hit you. They basically one-shot you, but they also hit mobs. So you can actually use this to explode some mobs, but obviously that's a pretty risky tactic. Now you have 5 deaths. As long as you don't have 5 deaths, you can loot your bountiful coffer. So you can play a little bit risky, but still. You can see me click some abilities because I don't actually have my UI set up on the beta, so it's a bit rough. But yeah, it's just to demonstrate what a tier 8 run looks like when you're under geared. And as I mentioned, I would be playing different curios if I had access to them, because the ones I have on my brand at the moment are really annoying to use as well. Like, you have this thing where you jump to him and then he throws you, which in a way is nice to CC, but he can throw you in like an AoE that one-shots you, so I tend to not use that. So you see here there's a rare, so I want to do that because the power it gives you is pretty strong. Now the rare is pretty difficult, so you see I have to pop CDs. I probably should hero here, but I didn't do it. And yeah, just avoiding frontals, trying not to die, don't stand shit on the ground. The traps from Bran actually do decent damage, so kiting the rares over them is pretty good. Like I leveled my Bran on retail to like level 44, I think it was, almost 50 maybe. Doing this Rethan Abyss, which I have a video on my channel on, how you can basically complete a delve in 1 minute. I used that to basically level like 3 or 4 alts as well. So that was super quick. It was nice to level him, but they reset Bran to level 15. So I won't have like a powerful delve for the first week. So you can see the power here that I get, and it's pretty nice. There's another power. Like I don't go out of my way to find them really, but if I see them, I will pick them up. So I need to save 10 picks. I've got 4. Like I'm basically looking, are there multiple casters? Because if there are, like 2 of those bolts and you're dead basically. One important thing, so here you see again that I can use this explosion, pretty nice. But one important thing, usually if Brand's interrupt is off cooldown, he will immediately use it on the pull on the first cast. So you shouldn't interrupt that first cast because Brand will do it. But now it's not on cooldown, so he doesn't do it, or he was evading, so I almost died. So you can see it's not trivial, these tier 8 delves, although I think like once you're item level 600 they will be. But it's kind of nice to have somewhat of a challenge, I think, in the first week. Because I think it would be really nice if WoW had more solo content that was challenging, like Mage Tower. I really liked Horrific Visions, although like the reward structure of it wasn't implemented well. But yeah, I like doing solo content in WoW. I didn't get the buff, so I'm just reusing it because I have 6 minutes and I have no idea how much longer this is actually gonna take. Like I think the final boss will be relatively hard, because like as far as I remember, this guy here he has like an AOE that you can't avoid, and I'm assuming that will hit pretty hard.
What have we here?
Like this pool is gonna be rough, so I'm gonna need to use cooldowns. So I'm just gonna wait for some of my defensive because you can see there's quite a few casters in there. So I really want my touch of karma and my brew if I need it. So I kind of misplayed that a little bit because I could have had the spore explode on them, but you can see it's a ton of damage that they do. And I'm out of interrupt, so I need to kill this. Yeah, nice.
You're looking a bit rough. Take a wee rest.
But yeah, you can see like even white hits on a DPS class, they actually hurt quite a bit. But like as soon as you're 10, 20 eye level higher, it will be very easy. But I can imagine that especially some classes with like less strong personals and less burst damage, or like if you don't have enough interrupts, you might struggle. And so then I would really suggest you to run with a tank or a healer. I think pet classes have it pretty easy, but yeah, we'll see. Oh, I should have picked that rare power. I think I'm gonna get that. Because I'm not sure how difficult the end boss is gonna be. Okay, so let's go up here. Hopefully that's something good. That sounds pretty good. Just need to stay above 50% health for a bit. Hopefully I still have it for the last boss. So here, like, just unlock the respawn point in case you die. Like, I think if I die, I'll try Healer Brand on the last boss. But maybe it's not necessary. like one important thing to mention also is when you do these bountiful delves and like the higher tier delves, you can get the idols at much higher item level, and they're pretty damn strong. So I don't have any of that here. So that will also, like, your first run will be difficult, but like your next few runs will be easier and easier. If you're really struggling and you don't want to group, then I would suggest doing the stack Rethan Abyss on the day that it's the good scenario, and just speed level your brand. Like, choose an alt you want to level it through that delve, speed run those. Like, even if it's like a very undergeared alt and a slow class, you can still do that delve easily in like 2 to 3 minutes. Um, and yeah, you can get like a level 30, 40 brand, and that will make these tier 8s a lot easier as well. So let's see how this boss is. You can see I use the dragonfly drum, still works. And then we'll see the damage. So this guy does like a charge that you need to avoid. I think it one-shots. But the key thing is he does this AoE, yeah, this Spore Song, and that's unavoidable. And yeah, I used my Fortifying Brew, so that was fine. Then just need to avoid these explosions. Like, maybe I should try having them explode on him. He won't be knocked back, I think, but might do a lot of damage, but it's a bit risky. Doesn't seem to hit him, I think. Let's see. No, it doesn't hit him. Okay, unfortunate. But it looks like his AoE actually doesn't do too much damage, so actually the boss was easier than some of the trash mobs. I'm sure that some bosses and some delves will be a bit harder, but yeah. I'm not sure if the delves and Bountiful delves in Europe and in NA will be the same, but I'll be running some on Wednesday, and I'll post a video of what I think are the easiest Bountiful delves, so you can use that in order. So the key thing I want to show here is the treasure room. So you have this Bountiful coffer in the middle that is locked. You have some side covers that give like crests and stuff. But the middle one, that's where you use your restored key. So I have 10 of them at the moment. I haven't used my shards, so I actually have more than that. But the key thing here is this Radiant Echo thing. So, and that quest, why did it not appear? But so that quest you need to accept, because if you don't and you run more bountiful delves afterwards, as I said at the start of this video, you kind of lose, like, you don't loot these radiant echoes, and that's how you can like miss out on coffer key shards. So you want to use this quest item, then you get this radiant echo, and then you're fine. But you need to use that quest item, because otherwise on your next Bountiful Delve, you don't get this Radiant Echo. And from now on, whenever you complete a Bountiful Delve, you get this Radiant Echo. And then it should show up on the map. I'm not sure if I'm missing this. I'll just TP out and see where it is. But it's basically like this world event. You can do this in a group, but everyone needs a key. So you go as a group, for example. If it's faster, you can also do the solos, no problem. But I can potentially see people, like, if it works in a raid group. I haven't tried this. Like, do a raid group, tag all the mobs. But let's find out where this actually is. It's telling me to go to the last zone, so I'll just check that. My loading screens on the beta are pretty slow. I can't see it. Okay. Yeah, it's here. So that's the World Soul Memory. So you go there, you do that event, and you get some free coffer key shards. Thank you for watching.